It's hard to believe that this car's baby brother starts, the standard Dacia or Dacia Sandero starts at under 13,000 euro, but it does. This car starts at just over 18,000 euro. And what an amount of car it is for that price. If I was to tell you for that price, you get things like wireless Apple CarPlay, proper LED headlights, upgraded alloy wheels, things that just don't come on so many cars. And on this particular model, you get blind spot, you get collision avoidance, the list goes on. Like its cousin the Duster, there's just nothing that can compete with it. And I've brought it here, I've parked it off-road because, well, look at it. It looks like it wants to be parked off-road. And if you're into surfing and it's windy enough for it today, you've got adjustable roof rails that, again, come as standard. And if you want LPG, that's no problem. We'll throw it in for free. They really are unique cars. So let's come and check it out in more detail. This is the Sandero Stepway. So you got a nice big grille here. Lots of rugged looks of bits of plastic going on over the wheel arches, along the side of the car and over the back bumper. And the LPG tank, it's nothing fancy, it's just in here. There's a lever inside the car. There's a little brass bolt that hooks in there and you can fill it up and drive the car really cheaply. And the child seats on the back of the car here, well, they'll easily go in with ISOFIX and you can flip them around and there's plenty of space. Then you have the boot, which is not huge, but they've made the best of what they can. It's got an adjustable shelf, it's got 4 shopping hooks, a light, a parcel shelf that is easily removed, and of course you can adjust it into the car. And even underneath that shelf you can also store things. Also, the position of the car, it's kind of higher up here, so you're not leaning into the boot if that's a factor. It's not the biggest boot again. They've done an awful lot with it, so well done. And it's got a 5-year warranty. Hello, it's not even 19,000 euro. Now let's have a little look at the back of the car for leg room and things like that, because it's not even bad there either. Back here with the driver and passenger seats reasonably far back, it's still all right, it's still perfectly acceptable. I can't say I feel like I'm on a, well, I'm probably on a Ryanair flight type comparison, but it's okay. Size of the bench doesn't allow for a rear armrest, and there's 12-volt charging, but really, I mean, I know you can get adapters, but how useful is that in 2021? Fair enough. You can't even access the cup holders like the way you can in the Duster. But you know, if we're talking about just size for passengers, it's quite a wide bench. It still curves out a little bit to give you more support on the back. Not as long as the Duster, in fairness here. So this part of the legs are led a little bit in limbo. Lots of scratchy plastic going on here. But again, you can't really hold it against the car. Think of the price. It's incredible. So definitely not as much room as the Duster. But if you're that kind of 4-person family, you're going to get on just fine. Bit more personality coming into the car up front here. So there's lots of touches. This is desert orange, by the way, is the colour. You get the same on the air vents. You'll see bits on the seats. The piping around stepway is there. This is a kind of a cotton cloth, spongy texture. I'm not sure how long that will last in the test of time, but the actual plastics in the dashboard, they're robust, they're going nowhere and very wipeable. You've got an eco button, full climate control, 2 USB ports, one near the driver beside the phone holder. You know, even if some car companies gave the phone holder, they'd have the USB down here or something, but Dacia have put it right there. So you've got 2 options and a 12-volt. Cup holders down here. The cruise control has left this area compared to the Duster. It's on the steering wheel. Much easier to use. Very similar buttons to something like the Renault Clio, and I really like the button for turning on LPG is just here. You don't even notice it when you do it. There's not a huge amount of fuel stations around Dublin to use it, but there are about 4 or 5, and it's kind of half the price of petrol. Not necessarily even as green on the environment as petrol, but it's there. This tablet screen is a good size, resolution is fine. The fact that it has wireless CarPlay, I just can't help but think that is massively impressive. You just wouldn't believe the amount of cars, premium cars, that do not have that. It's changing, but to have it in a Dacia worth not even 19,000 euro, it's impressive. Your displays, you've got needles again, instrument display, nothing too fancy, but it tells you all you need to know, including your LPG range. Obviously, everything is functional, no complicated touchscreens. I think people who like simplistic controls are going to love it. We're dealing with a very, what I would call, reasonable 100 brake horsepower, 6-speed manual gearbox. It's all very smooth, never find it jerky. I don't find it sluggish. Going over ramps, it's okay. It takes a thud. The wheels aren't the biggest. And it seems to suit Irish roads, because they're not the smoothest, pretty well. There's enough pickup. It is a bit of a whine off the engine. It actually handles quite well, because although it's a crossover-ish, kind of small crossover style of vehicle, it's not particularly high off the ground. Lower centre of gravity, better handling. If you have one of these cars with less of the safety packs on it, the NCAP rating isn't always as high, and it's more about the external elements if you're to impact a pedestrian. So this car, for example, has blind spot and collision avoidance, and all the safety things that you'd want. There are drum brakes on the back. Steering is nice and light for city driving. How could you improve it? You can hear strong winds over the B-pillars. There's a bit of noise off the tyres, so it's not the most insulated of cabins. And over certain bumps, it can be a bit thuddy, if you get me. But it handles nicely. I like the fact that there seems to be enough torque in most of the gears. And there's the Logan, and I can comfortably say, as I rented one on holidays before, one of the worst cars I've ever driven, and that's quite a few years ago. Well, compare this car to it, and it's literally like apples and oranges, especially because of the colour of this. The washer jets don't spray that far up the windscreen, if I'm really nitpicking. But like the fact that you'll get change of 19 grand in this car in Ireland, when we all know how expensive cars are, it's quite an achievement. This really will suit people with 4 people in the family, maybe an older couple. You can do things like get a car with a Toyota badge and get a much smaller car, or you can somewhat lower your expectations and get something with a Dacia badge and have more boot space, more leg room, and just more stuff as standard. We need to get beyond this kind of badge snobbery. My own father-in-law traded in his Yaris and came home with a Toyota Aygo. And every time he wants to play golf, he used to let his rear seats forward because they won't fit in otherwise. But he wasn't coming home with anything less than a Toyota. And because the price of cars went up, the trade-in cost of change into a Yaris, which is what he normally does, just was too high. So he dropped down. However, he could have got into something like this, got over the badge, and had a more practical car. People need to do this. As I said in my other Dacia video this week, Skoda were once upon a time in this place. And now it's Dacia's time to get noticed for what they are, which is no frills, decent cars. I'm not sure I could have picked a windier location to film a car review if I tried. But look, the Stepway is again that kind of vibe of the Duster, cheap, honest motoring, a 5-year warranty that's hard to argue with. One caveat, when you can buy these cars so cheap, you've got to think, what does it mean for residuals? Because to buy a second-hand one is going to be cheaper again. Otherwise, people will just say, look, I can jump in for an extra 3 grand and get a brand new car with a 5-year warranty that no one has ever driven. It's something to think about. The day you buy is the day you sell. But if you're looking for a first car, if you're looking for a simple, honest car, get your family around because you don't need big space anymore or flashy badges, the Stepway is a really good solution. Thank you very much for watching. Great weather for surfers.